Thank you for joining me for another Quick Hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn. With me today, I have Gordon DelGiorno and Rick Alcantara. And I would like to ask the question, how do you notice a one-sided relationship and what do you do about it? Gordon, can you kick us off, please?
Well, I guess I would need to qualify what you mean by that. Would it be generally speaking, like relationships in general, business relationships, personal relationships?
Specifically, I think at this time, I'd like to hear first, let's talk about business, one-sided business relationships.
That's really a difficult one. All I would say that there's times where, as a contractor, I'm a video contractor and I have to go in and talk to people. And mine is very transactional, at least at first, until you do one and they like it, hopefully, and then it goes on and on, like a lot of things. But I think once they get what they want, but if you're chasing, let's say, and you've had like chasing the business, then that changes, I think. So what happens with that is obviously the phone calls don't get returned, or nowadays with texts, that's a big way to get people pinned, I think, a little bit, to see where your relationship is, because people tend to respond because we have our phones right here most of the time. Emails, you can avoid people, and so people just say, oh yeah, whatever, I never got it, it went into spam, whatever. I think it's when you start to feel the avoidance, if you're following up on things that were supposed to happen, you were going to start a project or something like that. For a business partner type thing, if I had a partner, which I do on this, you just see who's doing the work, who cares more, who wants it more. I mean, that's generally as much as I can think of right now. Well, I'll throw it in your court.
Oh, Gordon, I agree with you. I used to see a lot more of it than I do now. And I think a lot of that comes down to how did you preface this business arrangement when you first started talking to that prospective client? Early in my career, when I started consulting, I would find a lot of people wanted to waste my time. They would cancel a meeting or reschedule a meeting, or the decision maker wasn't there, or, we'll get back to you and we'll let you know. And then, maybe they would sign the project. Like you say, you have to chase them. You have to try to get the materials. You try to get somebody on the phone and they just weren't holding up their end. That definitely is a one-sided business relationship. And one thing that really helped me is many years ago, I had a client that was a sales trainer. And I actually said to the sales trainer, what would really help me help you is if I were actually to go through your sales training. So I actually went through his sales training course for about a year and a half. And one of the things I learned was to get the right people at the meeting the first time and set a real strong agenda. And you basically try to put yourself on the same level as the client, because a lot of times the clients treat you just like a vendor or just like somebody that they can just throw things at. And you're a business, but you're also an individual, and you should be getting accorded the same respect as you accord the client. And you can usually tell right away when you meet somebody for that first time, are they going to waste your time? Are they going to be distant? Are they going to just push you off all the time? And if it doesn't feel right, if your gut doesn't feel right, maybe it's time to walk away.
I was a recruiter right before Y2K. I did some sales trainings with a guy who was so dry and he was like older than dirt. And but the one thing he said that really has always, I've sort of lived by since, is I'm financially independent and I don't need this money. Even if they're going to repossess my house, I have to go in with that mentality when I try to start a business relationship with anybody. And I've always done that. And it's been successful for me because you can cut through the BS when somebody is not showing you that if they're serious or pulling their weight or whatever it is. And so if they don't pass the sniff test early, I'm gone. Yeah. I'm out of that relationship. I'm not wasting my time chasing people. And I've kind of been no nonsense about that now. That's with any relationship too, even family and stuff like that. For me, it's kind of like, okay, where are we going with this? Do I want it more than they do? The relationship, whatever it is. And I see that a lot in business of people who are starting their own businesses. Do you want it more? You want to help them along, or you want them, and they don't want it as much. Right. And that's okay. Just go find another place for yourself and whatever you're motivated to do. So I think it's about motivations and understanding that and just saying, I'm moving on.
And what you can do too is you can actually build some things into your operating agreement or your letter of agreement or your contract or whatever it is that basically spells out, the length of the contract, what it actually covers. You can say, well, if it's not delivered by a certain time, it incurs an extra cost. Or if there's extra work, we're going to send you a change agreement, which basically then you're going to sign and send back. So you kind of cover yourself, but also the client knows up front what the expectations are on their part and on your part. And then they're not going to waste your time, especially if there's going to be a surcharge or some extra fee for them dragging their feet. We used to do a lot of website development. And I would get my contractors on board. I'd have a programmer, a photographer, and a graphic artist, and all these people. We do all the writing, we have everything. We do everything, and then we're sitting around waiting for the client to provide content for us. And it would go on for months. And I had to pay all the subcontractors, and I was out there waiting for my money to come in, and it was just taking forever. So basically, then what we did is we changed the terms. We basically said we're going to bring a copywriter in and have it done, in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and that way we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that happens to me a lot with video production. I'm in the middle of it right now with one, and what happens is I get half up front as a deposit to reserve that, and I've got deposits that I'm sitting on that I've sitting on for years, and I would still say, yeah, I'm ready to do it when you are, but I'm not giving it back because you're reserving our time, and a lot of times it's setting a couple dates and then they cancel. Well, my people came in. They could have been doing something else that day.
Right.
So you're not getting your money back. That's when I have to be hardcore. And usually you don't. People understand that sometimes. But I've had to have a few little fights with people over the years about things like that and say, no, you're reserving our time. And I can't book anything else that day. And if you're going to cancel, then you lose. That's what a deposit's for. That just sort of hold people by the hand sometimes. But this sort of dragging of clients' feet and not giving that relationship or not valuing your time in that relationship, right? Then you say to them, well, we edited these two pieces together. I know that you haven't approved them yet, but you got to pay us because it's been 3 months.
Right.
And then when you're ready to approve it, we'll come back and we'll do the revisions or whatever. I do that sometimes or negotiate and say, well, give us half of what you owe us. Half of the half. But yes, there's a lot of you get put on the lowest part of the totem pole sometimes with people's motivations. And I just say that to them. It sounds like we're not the priority right now, and that's okay, but pay me.
Right. Yeah. And I think you might agree, Gordon. I think sometimes it's their lack of project management skills because they may be juggling 20 things at one time, and they may think your project is low priority, and it becomes your problem as opposed to it's their problem because they can't manage their time or their resources or the projects that they have in front of them.
Yeah, and my whole thing is just to be have empathy for them. Now, I don't know what's going on in their life, in their personal life. I try to really put myself and say, look, something else is going on, something changed. I get that. Just let me know if we need to, if I need to not bother you again, stuff like that. And I really try to, and that's any relationship. It sounds like something's going on, even in my personal relationship with my wife. It's kind of like I can't. It's this codependency thing, right? We don't need to go there, but there is that even in business and stuff like that, where they're going through something and you dive right into that. And again, you want it more than they do, or you want to fix it, or you want to, and you can't do that. You just say, you're going through this. If you need me, I'm around type thing,
And the biggest symptom, I guess, Robyn, of the one-sided relationship is you bring on a client and they have a lot of demands and they keep coming back to you with more demands and more expectations and more add-ons, and they want the work for the same price. And the expectation is, well, you should just do that. Or I thought it was part of the project, or I thought it was part of the agreement. And you're like, well, no, because I got to hire extra people. I got extra work here. This is going to add another 50 hours to the project. So again, it's setting expectations up front.
And being willing to be clear and set those boundaries and then hold those boundaries, even if it makes people angry. I know I've had that happen where I've said, look, this is the way the contract is written. This is what the boundary is. And so noticing when the relationship becomes one-sided and being able to stand up for yourself is super important. So that is our 10 minutes. I'm going to cut us off there. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. I appreciate it. And I look forward to speaking to each of you very soon.